The first person coming in with a RevOps background.
I'm Alexia. I'm RevOps manager at Pivot, a B2B software for procurement in more than 20 geographies. Previously, I was sales ops at Pennylane, B2B fintech companies.
Pennylane was 3,000 customers when you joined, 150,000 when you left. That's 50 times the growth.
Are we rolling? Sweet. Now my day starts.
A lot of people on LinkedIn have this narrative of GTM engineers are just glorified RevOps. What's the difference in your eyes? And if I'm a startup founder hiring, what even is a GTM engineer versus RevOps?
For me, go-to-market engineer are way more technical. RevOps are way more business oriented. I had lots of business ideas, but lots of things were really technical. For example, scrap LinkedIn or how to build complex workflow. And so it's here that like go-to-market engineer arrived. As of now, at Pivot, we are always working together every day and everyone like brings their own knowledge. But maybe with like all the AI stuff, it will change things because RevOps are going to be like way more independent and will be able to like do things by your own.
You mentioned not just the tooling person, but can you explain like what you mean and why you think RevOps is often misunderstood?
I hate being a tooling girl. It's a challenge. For me, RevOps are really business partner to head of, so mostly head of marketing and head of sales. So I see my position is head of have a strategy for the department. They need some time to be challenged. And after the most important part is how do you help them implement the strategy on an operational level? You can have the best strategy if execution on day-to-day operations sucks, then your company is dead. And tools is just a way to implement things on a day-to-day, but you can have so many layers. And so if you just think about tools, it's not a good thing because at the end, it's everything just about like business and what are the business problems that you need to solve.
Was there a specific moment or project that comes to mind where you could maybe say in hindsight that was the right decision?
When I arrived at Pivot, the first thing that I did was like to audit the CRM. And what I saw is there was some need to better structure information. All sales team really focus on like urgent and short-term things, such as, for example, what is the acquisition channel of the deal? Who is owner of
Right.
the deal? But when I arrived, I thought also that there was some issues that we could have in the mid and long term, which can really impact the business. For example, we didn't track at all what was the renewal date of our customer because we were quite a young company. And so as of now, like all our customers are already like still in the first phase of the contract. But I knew that in a year it will be an issue because it will mean that we will have to review all the contract for all our customers. So I challenged them and I told them like, okay, it's not an issue for now for you, but I know that for the company on the mid long term, it will have an impact and we won't be able to track like what is the renewal date, what are the modules sold. So that's why I like decided since day one when I arrived to like really gather the data in our CRM in HubSpot. I really wanted that sales team like start to have like good habits to put the data in the CRM to make sure that we have it. So in the future, we don't face any issue at company level.
You mentioned Pennylane was 3,000 customers when you joined, 150,000 when you left. That's 50 times the growth. There's always change across the different commercial teams. How do you balance like simplifying processes while still the complexity of the customer types?
At scale, everything becomes more complex because you have more stakeholders, more departments, more customers and everything. So I created a framework. Whenever there was a new process to implement, I used tools to map it, such as Whimsical, Miro, or Figma. I map all the workflow, all the things that can happen. Okay, if this happened, then it should be this and this and this. After I challenge myself, okay, how can I make it more simple? So when you force yourself to do this, then you say here it represents only 2% the entire database. Okay, it's an exception. If it's an exception, I don't care. Let's go, let's merge it with another category. And so I simplify. And after I do this exercise around 3 to 4 times to always challenge myself to simplify with like new eyes every time. And at the end, That's how you arrive to like simple processes. An example at Pennylane was like, we decided to monetize our setup and onboarding. It can be really stupid, but it creates lots of friction. Why? Because first, from free to paid, customers' expectation increase a lot. So first, you need to have strong processes like new documentation because they are going to ask more questions. What is the onboarding process? What are the setup? How long does it take? And so on. Second, how much are they going to pay for this setup? A company paying only 40 euros per month for a subscription, do you think they are going to pay the same amount for an onboarding compared to a company that pays 500 euros per month? Obviously, no. So what should be the price and what should be at the end, like the setup and the implementation process after that? And also we were not able to have like proper onboarding one-to-one for every customer because as we discussed, like the volume were huge. So what we decided is like, again, we like draw whimsical and we challenge ourselves again and again about how to simplify. We end up having a clear definition of who should have a one-to-one onboarding and who not. Okay, if they pay above this amount of money, then they need to pay and have a one-to-one onboarding. Otherwise, it will be in product onboarding.
Yeah.
And so people just have to remember an amount of money. So this was really simple for people and in Pennylane to know, and especially for sales team to know if they were eligible for the one-to-one onboarding.
You mentioned that one of the biggest change management challenges was managing everyone internally as the company grew. You said that there was one specific decision to split between new business and existing customers. Talk us through that. Like,
what the like top management decided was, okay, prospect is for sales team and customer, it's for customer success team. As an ops objective is always to align on common definition because most of the time, if there are issues during project and so on, it's because people have different definition and different interpretation of things. And so when I had like this project coming, I just asked like, what is a prospect? It seems like a stupid question, but I really asked them, is it someone who has access to our product? Is it someone who pay for our product? And because imagine like all the product-led companies that have like a free trial, do you consider them as a customer or no? And so by asking this stupid question, really lots of questions emerged and it wasn't straightforward, but it really helped to put the foundation of the project because when we all align on a common definition, then again, what I did was I map all the processes, all the interaction and so on. And by having common definition at the beginning, whenever some question arises about in this particular case, is it sales or should it be like customer success who take care of this person? We always go back, okay, does he pay? If yes, then it's a customer. If no, then it's a prospect. It becomes really clear for everyone.
A lot of companies underestimate making sure that everyone understands the same definition or at least defines it the same way.
When you become a larger company, it's even more true that you need to align first people on definition because really everyone has their biais, and the more people you have, the more biais and point of view that we'll have. Having and making sure that we all align on definition at first make things way more simple for the future of all your project. Otherwise, it creates like confusion and like
What about, you said you guys moved over from HubSpot to Salesforce. Everyone looks at CRM migration projects and goes, that's such a daunting task. It's super tiring. Nobody enjoys it. How did you tackle that?
Pennylane 3 weeks after my arrival was the migration. So I had to train people on Salesforce where it was my first time using Salesforce. So it was quite funny.
Interesting.
It's definitely one of the biggest projects an ops can have with a CRM, build the foundation of an entire company because it has an impact on sales, marketing, CS, but also finance. So really it's a key element is restructuring the company. What we did right at Pennylane for the migration was we manage expectation at the beginning. So month and month, we explain to sales team and to like Pennylane Engineer that it's a big project and that we can have like turbulence at the beginning and it won't be like easy at the beginning. So on day one, when the migration was done, because everyone was able to work on Salesforce, it was a success because we know that it was tough. We know that in some companies, sales team were not able to work on the CRM for a month, but here they were able to do it. And obviously, when they started to use it, lots of questions raised. So I had office hours with my different teams where I can answer all the questions. And so it was really smooth. Where we messed up was after 1 month, our head of sales say, okay, it has been a month that we did the migration. Now everything should be working. And here was tough for us because no, when you do a migration, then in 1 month, not everything is fixed.
Was there something specific that you guys tried that didn't work, or?
When we did the migration, we kind of copy paste the dashboard that we used to have in HubSpot. But because when we did the migration, we structured more fields, we had more data, then obviously we wanted to track new things. So all the work that we did to create the dashboard for like all the teams, we had to rebuild everything from scratch with
Yeah.
a new perspective of like what the metrics, plus obviously some bugs and so on. And at the same time, Pennylane was evolving a lot in terms of business. Some processes that we didn't map because we didn't have these issues in the past. Now we had to find solution. Example, how do you make an upgrade into your CRM? Before the migration, we didn't have any processes because we didn't have any upgrade. But at the time migration happened and so on, then we started to have upgrade. But the thing is like we didn't map it because we didn't have this issue and we didn't think about it. And so I think also part of when I arrived at Pivot, in the way I structure the CRM, I try also to think of doing an upgrade, doing a churn, doing a downgrade. It's part of B2B SaaS. And so if it doesn't come now, it will come at one point. So I already start to like think about some processes that I know it would happen in the future.
You're now with Pivot. Take us back to the first 90 days. What did that look like?
It was most important for them to understand my user. I asked them questions, but also I did shadow session with them. And by shadow session, I mean like sitting next to them and just like saying nothing and just seeing where do they click, where do they go, what the flow and how do they find information. Why? Because there is always an official process and an unofficial process. And I wanted to see the real
Guilty.
life. Then at the same time, I check and I audit all our tools, and especially obviously the CRM. And I know into my previous experience at Pennylane, what are the core metrics that we need to track. And again, sometimes because I arrived really early on pivot journeys, I know that it's a metric that we don't want to track now because it's like way too early. But I know that we still need to capture the data because in the future, it will be a metric that we would like to track. What is the renewal date? Which module do we sell? How much do we sell to a customer per contract? So mostly everything related to revenue, because everything related to revenue is key for the company. And for sales team, it will have a direct impact on their salary at one point.
Why do you think data hygiene matters more than most founders think?
Data hygiene is the foundation. If you don't have good data hygiene, then on the mid-long term, your teams will spend more time chasing and trying to understand information regarding prospect or customer. So no efficiency. If you would like to use AI, then it will be such a mess and you won't have the result that you want because AI will take the data. So if it's wrong data, you will have wrong results. So what I did at Pivot was first, I started to implement structure in fields. Second, I built workflows with Alexia, our go-to-market engineer. So whenever a contact and a company come in our CRM, we make sure we have all the important data and make sure that we have no duplicate. For us, it's LinkedIn URL and LinkedIn ID. After, we build workflows to automatically merge contact and companies. At that point, we are sure that we have a structure. Whenever we push data, first, we know that we have good data quality. And second, even if we push massively data, we have the infrastructure thanks to the merging workflow to make sure that the data stay consistent. And now we are on the phase that because the foundation are really strong, that we can build on top. And so by building on top, I mean adding data in our CM to track all job change, all new hire, promotion, or a new job opening in a company and so on. But we know that we can do it with confidence because we have the infrastructures that make sure that no matter the quantity and the volume of data we push in our CRM, stay consistent.
I think this is super underrated. A lot of startups and founders in particular fall into the data debt trap. So You come in and the first sort of mission at hand is, hey, you have to go clean up the mess we created over the last year or 18 months around this. I know that you guys have a platform and then different modules and different products. In some companies, RevOps does play more of a training coaching role. What was one of the things that worked really well during designing the onboarding program, and what was something that failed completely?
At the beginning, I started to create an onboarding program saying, okay, I'm going to train a new sales rep on the product, how to prospect, our CRM, and so on. But after several months, we discovered that some reps were not good at some elements. And we thought, we don't understand why, because we trained them for that. So we don't understand first, how do we discover a month after their arrival that they are not good at this? And second, we train them. So what happened? And so it really make us think about, okay, there are some skills that we expect from sales reps. We didn't train them on. So how can we expect them to be good? Second, we never assess if they really master the skills. And it's impossible after 2 weeks in a company that you understand everything and you know everything in the company. So we decided to reshape everything. When a sales rep arrived at Pivot, what do we expect from them in terms of hard skill and soft skill? Like, we expect them to master sales lab. We expect them to use the CRM. We expect them to know what is a tier 1, tier 2 company. We expect them to
Yeah.
know the procurement market. So we really list the entire skills that we expect from them. And after we created trainings during the onboarding week to make sure that for every skills that we expect from them, have the proper training. And after the onboarding, you have kind of an assessment. The assessment, it's not like at school. It's really asking questions to make sure that they know and they master the skills. And if they don't master the skills, then we provide extra training on the skills, because it's impossible to remember everything. So by doing this, we have a standard onboarding, but after we are able to personalize the onboarding with extra training and so on. And so really we have seen really great results. And now we have never seen a month after an arrival, a sales rep not mastering a skill. Yeah, 100%.
I know that you said you can apply AI to a lot of the different systems and processes, but I want to go to outbound in particular, because you work closely with the sales team. You guys were experimenting on a Google Sheet. Take me to how it went from scrappy to now being structured.
We are still early in our journey. So as we see that tech is here, especially to build process at scale, but we always need to test it first. So what we do is, if we would like to track a new signal, let's say we would like to track the new hire. So what we do is we scrap some data, put it in a spreadsheet. And so sales try to reach out and try messaging and so on. We always define first what the success should look like.
What is that, like open rates or reply rates? Is that what you guys are measuring, or?
We don't believe in open rates because now there are lots of robots to check the security. So
Yeah,
open
fair.
rate is not good data. So for us, it will be reply rates and meeting booked. And so we define the key metrics, and then need to have quite a large sample, because you cannot take a decision if you just reach out to 10%. You need to have quite a large sample to make sure that you can have a really good overview and statistic. So whenever we reach that level and whenever we say it's a good fit, then with Alexia, our go-to-market engineer, we try to find a way to scale this motion and to implement things in HubSpot and so on.
Gotcha.
So it's a way to be one, more agile, and second, make sure that we still have also good data in our CRM, because whenever we implement things in our CRM, it means that we already validate our hypothesis and we are already sure that it's working.
When you said it needs to be a large enough sample, how many people are we talking?
When you do outbound, your reply rate is around 3, 4, 5%. So imagine it will mean that only 4 people. And so you cannot take a business decision with only 4 people. So you need to do more volume.
Super clear. We're all guilty of being tempted to go after the next new AI tool or the next new hot tech, but can you give me an example of when maybe you had to challenge a certain strategy?
I don't like when especially sales arrive and say, we need to do this and this. And I prefer to always go back and say, what are the business problems that you would like to fix? And after, it's my job as a RevOps to arrive and say, okay, your business issue was this. You can have plenty of solution to solve this issue, but my recommendation will be to solve the issue with option A, for example, because whenever the company is going to scale, I know that it won't be possible to scale if we select the option B. So on a concrete example, it will be, for example, again, we go back to CRM and to tools, but if someone say, okay, I would like to implement a field to track, for example, all the modules that we sell to one of our customer, he can say, okay, I will just like free text fields where I can like put all the information. And here I will challenge and say, no, it's not the right things to do, because the products and the modules that you sell to one of your customer, it's for your revenues and for the future when you would like to upgrade and so on. So here, for example, I will challenge, I will say, no, we don't do a free text because you are not able to report. Let's structure the information in the field. And so we are sure to be able to create report in the future with the data. So how do we structure the information in the CRM to scale the processes to report?
Would be curious to hear your take on the AI tools that sit in the RevOps tech stack. How are you guys currently thinking about AI in the business, and what are you using?
AI is not an end. AI is here and it's a lever to solve business issue. I don't like people like just like um using AI for using AI. No, we should go back to basic. What is a business issue that you would like to solve? And then after, it's come to AI. It's going to be a revolution for sure. And now we are on the phase that we don't know exactly all the possibilities and all the case where we can use it. What I think is like, as of now, all the tools that are built with AI are not good, not really. Why? Because like AI is really good when it really match the way the company is working. So it should be really personalized in order to have like really personalized output. And to match like the way your company is working and so on. As of now, I think like all the AI tools are not working really well on that because it's like too generic and not personalized from the company. So that's why we decided to build things internally. So we have all the workflow, everything we have built it in house. And so, for example, my business problem was when you sell to mid-market enterprise, investor can have an impact and can influence deal. So what we did, the objective was to know, okay, which investor can influence for one of our competitors because it's their investor. So what I did was, thanks to Cloud Code, I scrapped the website of venture capital firm because they always display their portfolio companies. After
Yeah.
I extract the data and put it in HubSpot, now my sales team is able to know the companies. Do they have a common investor with one of our competitors? I did it because I knew who was our competitor and who are the most important venture capital firm, so I can extract the data. But this is like intelligence from our company. I'm not going to scrub on the entire VC fund and so on.
Do you guys build your own custom workflows?
Yeah, so we have a desk also, and we use it mostly to help us answer RFP question and RFX.
Okay.
Most of the time, quite the same question about our product, the security, the governance,
Yeah.
the vision, and so on. So it's really helped us save time. Just last weekend, I built a product on Lovable because I think the go-to-market function is broken. Sales and marketing and mostly revenue teams have really siloed tools. And so the information is hard to centralize the information and to bring intelligence. So I built a platform that gathers information from different sources, such as LinkedIn, HubSpot, and so on. We put it on the platform, and then after we can bring intelligence. For example, on a certain company, maybe that you would like to highlight that, okay, he was a past user of your product. Or maybe he is a past user of one of your competitor. Or here, no, he has a common investor with your competitor. So it's bring intelligence.
Maybe just focusing on the fundamental business problem and then from there deciding in reverse what kind of tools or tech do we need is typically the approach that I'm seeing that most startups don't always get right. It's very tempting, right? To say, hey, okay, let's throw a credit card and spend $100 on whatever subscription. Then 6 months down the line, you're like, well, what return on investment did I actually get from that? And sometimes you can't even
100%.
quantify it or measure it.
And it's so trendy to say that we have built a tool internally with AI. But if it solves the issue of just one person for one specific use case that happened once
Yeah,
per year.
then yeah, exactly. What's the real point? And I want to ask you from a career level, you've gotten a journey going from VC side to operator side, looking at the startup market in Europe. What would your advice be to someone who wants to crack into RevOps?
Your job as a RevOps is really different according to like several criteria. Objective is to know what do you like and what you don't like, and making sure to find the right companies that fit your expectation. I'm not doing the same job as pivot that I used to do like at Pennylane, because the size of the company is not the same. It's not the same job also according to the average ACV of what your product, because if it's the ACV is low, then it will mean that everything is about volume. So if it's about volume, your job as a RevOps will be about automation. If your ACV is high, then it will mean that you sell to mid-market enterprise company, and then your sales cycle is different. And then your job as an RevOps is to bring intelligence to sales, to help them navigate conversation. And after, the last one will be about how fundamental ops is in your company. If I was working at Dot, like, it's not the same, because you have all bicycle in the street that you have to handle, being sure that they are repair and so on. And I don't have this kind of issue. So my job is less operational, low operational, less critical, I would say. These are the three pillars that impact your job.
If you had to ask one question with every company that you interview, so let's assume that you were looking for a role, what would that question be?
What do they expect from a RevOps? Because the way they perceive my job, what they expect from me, it would be the starting point of a discussion. If they saw me as a tooling girl, then I will be able to challenge. Okay, maybe it's because you had past experience with RevOps, only focus on tooling. But
Yeah.
can I change the role? Can I do more from that? Is it possible? Or are they like, no, RevOps are just this kind of person, and then you cannot do anything else? So
Okay.
really, what do they expect from me?
Let's build on this. So what's your opinion on RevOps carrying a target?
I'm against that 100%. I used to experience it, and I'm 100% against that. Sales has targets because they can have direct impact. My job as a RevOps is mostly to do project management. And so for project management, yes, it should be always related to a business impact. But with project, yes, you need NET, but with project, so many things can happen. And when you fix a target, it means that you need to have a fixed objective with a fixed ETA. But the thing is, because things move so fast, you can deprioritize, reprioritize. Things can be like longer than expected and so on. So it's totally correlated to like having clear objective and clear timeline and fixed one.
When is the right time to make your first RevOps hire? And what would you look for in that person?
I will say obviously like as soon as possible. But I would say like when you start to have like salespeople, especially, it's good. Why? Because again, you will put the foundation. And the more you wait, the more technical depth you will have. And the more work the RevOps will have to do. But for me, as soon as you start to have sales and your company start to be working well, take on ops, whenever things accelerate, then you are sure that the foundation are quite solid. Plus, it will be also a way to help the sales team, because I handle like onboarding, I handle like many things, and so it's time that the sales don't have to do this, and they can like focus on talking with prospect.
Listen, I really enjoyed our conversation. Thanks
Me
for
too,
jumping
thanks a lot.
on.
It was a pleasure.
And that's in the trenches.